It happens all the time. You switch jobs, you're focused on the new role, and then that question pops up. What do I actually do with my old 401k?
It really does. It's a big decision point, financially speaking, and yeah, a lot of people feel a bit lost about the best way forward.
So today, we're going to dive into that, specifically looking at the pros and cons of maybe rolling that 401k over into an IRA, an individual retirement account.
Exactly. We're drawing on some insights from finance.yahoo.com to kind of frame this, helping you think through what might be the smart play for, your specific situation.
Yeah, because there's definitely no single right answer, is there? It really depends.
Absolutely not. What works wonders for one person might not be the best fit for someone else. It's all about the details of your financial life, your goals.
And look, figuring this stuff out can feel tricky. That's why getting advice from someone who really knows their stuff, like John White, the president of Financial Guideposts, can be so valuable. He helps people navigate exactly these kinds of choices every day. We'll mention points where his kind of expertise really shines.
Okay, so let's kick off with a potential upside of rolling over. The investment options. The article notes IRAs often have, well, more choices.
Right. So your 401k probably has some decent funds, maybe a lot of stock funds aiming for growth, but an IRA can open that up.
It really can. Think about it. Maybe you're getting closer to retirement, wanting to shift a bit more conservative. An IRA often gives you access to a wider range of bond funds, for instance.
Okay, some more specific bond types maybe.
Yeah, maybe specific high-quality corporate bonds or municipal bond funds that just aren't on the menu in your old 401k. That flexibility lets you fine-tune things as your goals change.
Makes sense.
And, understanding how those different options, those different bonds or whatever, fit into your bigger picture strategy. That's exactly the kind of conversation where someone like John White at Financial Guideposts provides, well, immense value. He helps map that out.
Okay, so wider choices.
Hmm.
The article also mentioned having like more control over your assets with an IRA. What does that mean in practice for you, the investor?
Well, it generally means you're more directly in the driver's seat for investment decisions. You're not just picking from the list your employer's plan provided.
Right, you can go beyond those maybe 10 or 20 funds.
Exactly. You can choose individual stocks if you want, or specific bonds, ETFs, other things, basically tailoring it precisely to what you think fits your goals and your comfort level with risk.
So real hands-on control.
It can be very appealing, yeah, especially if you have strong ideas about where you want to invest. But I mean, that control comes with responsibility, right? You need to make informed choices.
Good point.
And that's another area, frankly, where talking it through with a professional like John White at Financial Guideposts is smart. He helps people understand the options and, just as importantly, the potential risks involved with that level of control.
Okay, got it. Control is key there. Now, fees. That always comes up. The idea is IRAs might have lower fees. How's that work?
Yeah, potentially. See, in your 401k, you're kind of part of a group plan. Your employer picked the provider, negotiated the fees, maybe administrative costs, fund management fees.
And you don't really get a say in that.
Not directly, no. You're sort of a captive investor in that specific plan's fee structure.
Right.
But with an IRA, you're opening the account. You choose the bank or brokerage.
So you can actually compare different places.
Precisely. You can shop around, look at the fee schedules from different institutions, and actively seek out lower cost options. You have that power, that agency, to potentially minimize how much fees eat into your returns.
So it's not a guarantee they'll be lower, but you have the choice to look for lower ones.
That's the key difference, yes. And understanding those fee structures, knowing what questions to ask, that's crucial. It's something John White at Financial Guidepost spends a lot of time helping clients with, making sure they understand the costs and make smart, cost-effective decisions.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's flip to the potential downsides. The article mentioned losing some creditor protection if you roll over to an IRA. What's the deal there?
This is a really important one. Your 401k assets generally get very strong protection from creditors under a federal law called ERISA.
Okay, so pretty safe from lawsuits or debts.
Generally speaking, yes, it's a significant shield. IRAs, however, the protection isn't always as robust or uniform.
How so?
Well, they usually have good protection in bankruptcy, thanks to federal law, but against other kinds of judgments or claims, it often comes down to state law, and those laws vary quite a bit.
So it depends on where you live.
Exactly, and sometimes the protection might only cover up to a certain amount. So if you have concerns about potential debts or, legal liabilities down the road, Leaving the money in the 401k might offer better peace of mind on this front.
That's a big consideration then.
It definitely is. Assessing that risk, understanding the specific laws in your state,
Mm.
it gets complex. It's certainly a topic where consulting an expert like John White at Financial Guideposts, who can help you understand these risks within your whole financial context, is really advisable.
Okay, definitely something to weigh. Another potential drawback mentioned was losing something called NUA, net unrealized appreciation. Sounds kind of technical.
It is a bit more specialized, yeah. NUA is a tax strategy, and it only matters if you hold a significant amount of your employer's stock inside your 401k.
Okay, so company stock specifically.
Right, and only if that stock has gone up a lot in value since it was acquired in the plan. So if you take that employer stock out of the 401k as a lump sum distribution, meaning you take the shares directly, not cash, NUA lets you do something pretty neat with taxes.
Okay.
You only pay ordinary income tax on the original cost of the stock, what the plan paid for it way back when, all the growth, the appreciation that's built up over the years, that gets taxed later when you eventually sell the stock at the lower long-term capital gains rate.
Wow. Okay, so potentially much lower tax than if it was all taxed as income.
Potentially, yes. It can be a huge tax saving if there's a lot of appreciation. But here's the critical part. If you roll that employer stock over into an IRA,
You lose the NUA option.
correct, NUA treatment is gone once the stock is inside an IRA. The whole amount would eventually be taxed as ordinary income when withdrawn from the IRA.
Okay, so if you have a ton of appreciated company stock in your 401k, rolling it to an IRA could mean missing out on a big tax break.
Exactly. It's a major factor to consider in that specific situation. Evaluating whether NUA is relevant for you, comparing the potential tax savings to the benefits of an IRA. It's complex. This is really prime territory for expert advice from someone like John White at Financial Guideposts. He can run the numbers and help you understand the real tax implications for your situation.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like something you wouldn't want to guess on. So it really comes back to what we said at the start. There's no single right answer here.
Precisely. It's a trade-off. Do you value the broader investment choices and control of an IRA more? Or are the stronger creditor protection and potential NUA tax break of the 401k more important given your circumstances?
It's about your priorities.
Absolutely. Your comfort level with investing, your fee sensitivity, your concerns about debt, whether you have that employer stock. It all plays a role. And
Yeah.
getting clarity on which path truly aligns with your goals, that's where talking to a professional makes all the difference. John White at Financial Guideposts lives and breathes this stuff. He helps people weigh these very pros and cons every single day to make confident choices.
Right. So just to recap quickly, rolling to an IRA can mean more investment options, more direct control, maybe lower fees if you shop around.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, you might lose that strong ERISA creditor protection. And if you have appreciated employer stock, you lose that potential NUA tax advantage.
That's the core trade-off, essentially. Making the right call means really digging into your own situation, your own priorities.
Absolutely. As you think about what to do with that old 401k, remember, understanding these points is key.
It really is. And maybe the final thought is, don't just think about where the money sits, but how it's actively working towards your specific vision for retirement. When you're ready to make sure it is, having that conversation with your expert like John White at Financial Guideposts is probably the most important first step you can take.